Schizophrenia is an illness. It's a psychotic mental illness. It affects approximately 1% of the population. It starts early in life. It has often a chronic downhill course.
They more feel cut off from the world because somebody is persecuting them, somebody has poisoned their food, or very commonly there's a voice or a series of voices that is going on in their head all day long, all night long, or just intermittently, saying dreadful things to them, that that they're being poisoned and that they deserve to be poisoned, or so on and so forth. They can't feel that they can relate to any other human being, so they feel socially isolated, alienated, and in a world that is out to get them.
One of the things about schizophrenia is that people might have a difficulty determining what's real and what's not real, because they can hear voices. They call them auditory hallucinations, another term for it. But it's pretty horrible. They hear voices and it sounds as if someone is actually speaking to them. I've had someone in the backyard with me yelling and screaming at the voices and saying, "Can't you hear that woman? She's putting me down. She's tormenting me."
My last episode last year, I did have a lot of voices. At the time, I wasn't sure whether they were it was actually people I knew were talking to me, and it seemed like it was telepathic. But because I was in hospital, I couldn't verify whether these people were actually talking to me telepathically or that this was voices. So I was unsure whether this was true or untrue.
They have sort of beliefs that people may be sort of controlling them, looking at them, strange somatic perceptions that they're being sort of interfered with, or some beam is being sort of shone into their sort of brain from somewhere.
And the visual hallucinations, while they weren't frightening, basically what I was seeing was flashes of light, and I'd see different colours. And this only happened to me after I hurt my neck, and I was told by the chiropractor that they could cause hallucinations if you had a neck injury. And it was after I hurt my neck and then had a psychotic episode after it. I get these, just a straight line, just like a rainbow, and I would see that. I would recognise it that I was the only one who could see this, but depending on what colour it was, would be interpreted by myself as what I'd have to do about it. If it was a certain colour, I would have to, it could either cause fear or panic in me. Suddenly getting a delusion where all of a sudden you think you're the Queen Mary, or that you're God, or you're the Son of God. It just starts to happen slowly, and there's a variety of reasons why that can happen. Stress can sometimes bring on an episode of mental illness.
The most commonly seen form of drug-induced psychosis would be schizophrenia that's been triggered by marijuana use.
The subtle symptoms could be ideas of reference, what's known as ideas of reference, where you think the TV or radio has a special message for you. And with psychosis, it is so personal that you're watching the TV and you're thinking the TV is actually, it's a special program just for you. It really alters your perception of the way the world operates.
Schizophrenia is not about split personality, but what is actually split is the sort of functions internally, the ability to sort of think and to perceive things.
Supposedly, one of the theories about a psychotic illness is that it's a chemical imbalance of chemicals in the brain such as serotonin and dopamine, and that's what causes what's known as the positive symptoms, the hallucinations, the voices, the ideas of reference, the delusions, the paranoia.
It's very difficult. Schizophrenia is probably the most destructive disease there is. It wrecks them. It develops in their early adulthood, just when they're forming relationships, getting into jobs, starting a career, studying, and it wrecks the whole lot. A
psychotic illness can be very terrifying for people. People people are very scared, and for most people with mental illness, they're at greater risk from harm from the community than the community's harm from them. And we shouldn't fear people with mental illness.
25% of people may have one episode, never have another episode. 50% have recurrent episodes, and the sort of 25% have a chronic downhill course.
Back 30 years ago, the general feeling, even from within the mental health profession, was that people with schizophrenia didn't recover. We now know that's not true, and the vast majority of people with schizophrenia will make a recovery. Some people will make a full recovery, other people will make a partial recovery.
1% of the population, 1 in 100, suffer from schizophrenia.
I think for any person, whether they've got a mental illness or not, having those solid relationships with friendships with people are integral to your own mental health and well-being.